Hey girl, welcome in. I am Deshayla Anjali and welcome to Love You to Infinity. Today I want to touch on the subject about friendship, something I don't really see. I mean, we do talk about friendships a lot. I'm not going to even say that, but I just want to give my take on friendships, how to navigate through friendships, how to grieve friendships when they might end, putting up boundaries, and being real with yourself and the parts that you play in some of your friendships and relationships. What does that look like? How do I feel about adult friendships versus childhood friendship from my perspective and my experiences? So this is where all of this is coming from. This is coming from places that I have experienced and my personal perspectives when it comes to friendships and relationships I've had over the past years. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, I want to talk about what I personally value in my friendships. I am now 34 years old, so I'm at a different place in my life as I should be versus when I was 17, 10, even 21, 24 years old. I'm in a different place. And what I realized that I personally value in friendships, I really value maturity, emotional maturity from women. I value honesty. I value accountability. I value my friends holding me accountable and me being able to have the space to hold them accountable. I value being able to pick up the phone and feel like I can really be my true self when I speak to my friends and I can tell you and I don't have to feel guarded with you. I really value that in my friendships personally for me. Now, I've had friendships from when I was younger, and for me personally, like I mentioned before, I was in a different space when I was younger, a young adult. And I really struggle from people pleasing. I really struggle from being honest and putting up boundaries because of fear of abandonment, a fear of you wouldn't love me or value me if I didn't really have to prove my worth to someone. So I really struggle with that. Like, so I would really extend myself. I would do things to make sure I keep these said relationships around. I would shut myself up a lot, and or then I would get to the point where I would explode, because I couldn't take it anymore, which was not fair for me. It wasn't fair for friendships because I feel like you should be able to be the most honest version of yourself. You should be able to speak up for yourself at all times. You should be able to say, hey, not today, not right now. I can't do this. I can't overextend myself and not have a fear of someone walking away from you because of that. So that was something I needed to work on and heal from when it came to my friendships and relationships with people. So, for my personal experience, I've had childhood friends. However, a lot of my childhood friendships have dwindled away because I feel like in all cases we had a version of each other that we couldn't uphold anymore. And for me personally, I speak up a lot. And I'm not the one to really walk away from relationships or friendships because number one, I am a fixer. I cannot help that. With the Mercury, with the Virgo, or the Virgo I have in my chart, I like to fix a situation before I abandon it or walk away from it or sever my ties with it. I want to work on it first. So I am a person that, like I said, I personally experience people feeling like, oh, because you're you can handle this or you'll accept me, because that's just who you are. I'm a very accepting individual. I'm very open to people. However, I've learned now being 34, that come with, conditions in a way. That come with me drawing a line in the sand, like, yeah, I don't have to accept who you are. You don't have to accept who I am. If I'm not working for you, that's fine. If you're not working for me, that should be okay too. But I feel like my adult friendships, they're meeting me at the person that I'm really becoming in my true self and in my most, authentic form. I accept myself a lot more than I used to. I live in true authenticity now. So the women I have in my life that came as an adult, they get that version of me. So they know what comes with this. They know what the boundaries look like. They know what the accountability looks like. They know what will come with being a friend of the heel version of me. And vice versa. These are grown women too, and they pretty much are, understand who they are and all of that. And, it just makes it dynamic. It's a lot more respect there, I should say, as far as how I feel and how they feel. I just recently had to cut ties with one of my childhood friends, take a break from it. And I'm very proud of the way I handled it, because in the past I would like lash or snap because I've had enough with people, and that's not a fair thing. That's something I really had to learn how to stop doing, because that's not fair, So, when a situation stemmed from, they did something I didn't like, it offended me. It offended other people around me as well that I care for and I love, and I spoke up about it, and the person defended it. They wanted me to they said, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I handle things. And although that could be true, at the same time, that doesn't mean that you should take accountability of how you made someone feel. So in that moment, I had to say, well, how do I had to really assess that relationship. And I wanted to just pull back and still be cool, but it was like other things that was happening that would still irritate me, because I was not truly feeling secure in that relationship anymore. Plus the other stuff that's happened in the past with that relationship, where I feel like that person crossing boundaries that really hurt me, like really put a stamp and a mark on me. But I chucked it up because of history. You understand what I'm trying to say? I chucked up how I felt. I chucked it up, and I still be friends with this person, when other people around me was like, why are you still friends with this person after this thing? My therapist, older women that I confided in about this was like, why are you still friends with this person? And I'm just like, well, because the history is there. She's also done a lot of great things for me. But see, when you don't cut ties with people when they do things that hurt you the first time, it's almost a guarantee they will do something again, especially if they handled it in a way that wasn't very appropriate, is the only word I could say, or really showing that they understood what they did to you, and you kind of chucked it up and you kind of let it go. You're going to resent that person. You're going to resent them. Everything they do, no matter how much you try to get past it. And that's with any relationship. You're going to resent that person when they hurt you on a certain level. And I experienced that with this sad friend. And it was a stamp for me to really, learn how I wanted my friendships to look. And even when I had two friends that I met as more of a teenager in high school that I no longer have a relationship with. And one of them was a harder fallout, because I was very angry, and I handled that not in a very, I should have been a bit more careful with it. And although the person, I feel like, if we wanted to be right or wrong, from my perspective, the person was kind of, they weren't right for what they did or how they handled it. I could have held myself to a higher standard and handled it better. So that really taught me that with a different friendship that I had to sever ties with. And that experience helped me sever ties with this particular recent situation in a healthier way. I voiced how I felt, and I explained to the person why I needed to take a break. And I was truly at peace with it. There was no going back like, well, I should have did this differently, or I should have said this. It's like I feel an extreme amount of great peace with how I handled it, and it's not for me to carry anymore. So as far as perspectives of having friendships when I was younger versus now, in my opinion, the relationships I've gained as an adult is healthier for me, because I wasn't as healthy when I gained those past relationships when I was younger, if that makes sense. Now let's get into how to handle if you have to sever ties or cut off a friendship. I feel like, from what I have experienced, like I mentioned before, when I lashed out, it never served me well. I never was really heard. The person was always able to play victim. And it also caused me to have to go back and look like, well, what did the person could be dead wrong. But because I'm lashing out and handling things in a more unhealthy way, it always made me question, because I knew I could do better. So it always made me question, like, well, Did I handle that wrong, or was I wrong? And it took away from me really being heard and how I feel being valued and stuff like that. So versus when I had another experience and opportunity to handle it in a healthier way and just explain myself calmly and clearly, I feel more at peace. So if you ever feel like you're in a situation where you feel like you need to cut ties with a friendship, first I want you to try to talk about what your issue is, or if they did something. And then I'm really the type of person, I judge people off their response to what they did when you bring it up. If your response is like real shaky and not healthy, or that's showing a lot about your character. And that's how I really know how to move. Because say if this person was like, hey, you know what, my bad, I do see where you're coming from, I was seeing growth in that person, I would have been like, okay, yeah, you know what, you heard me, and I appreciate you, and I thank you for that, because I would do the same thing for you. But if it's in a place of like they're shutting you down and stuff like that, and you tried, take some time to really see where you really want and at what you really want in that friendship, or where you feel like y'all can go. And then just be calm and honest about it and clear. And go on with your life. Like, is it gonna hurt? Probably, yeah, still. But what matters is that you really are having healthy relationships around you. And sometimes we gotta cut off the ones that's not that good for you, or you're not in the same place, so that you can welcome in the people that are in the same place with you, that has that growth and those values that you have in a friendship. So that is my take on how to handle cutting ties with friends. So say if you're anything like me, when I have experiences with people, I always go within. I always analyze myself and see where I could have done something better, or did something, if I did something wrong and all of that. Now here's the thing. Also, I am a type of person that sometimes I will punish myself. So it had me think, well, are you the problem if you're losing friendships from when you were younger and you don't have these friends around and stuff like that? So are you the problem? I did dive into that, and what I came up with is you're not the problem anytime you're standing up for yourself and what is right and what is correct. You are a person that it falls in line of just like breaking like a set of generational curses of accepting certain things in your life that do not align with you. If something does not align with you and it's time for you to go your separate ways, that does not make you the problem. Especially if you try to solve the problem. You can't control how other people are going to do what they're going to do and what they're going to choose in this situation. All you can do is worry about yourself and what works for you in a genuine space. Because a lot of people try to scream like, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing now for my life. And it's just like, okay, well, it's going to be things that come with that, And if you're really at peace with where you are in your life, you're going to understand that. You're going to be humble enough to say, I'm here in my life, and other people are not going to understand that. And if they want to walk away, that's okay, because I am here in my life. I don't have the capacity to be the friend that I used to be. Sometimes people need to be, very, real about that type of stuff with themselves. So, I feel like, me personally, if you are trying to address and fix the problem and the person responds in a way that does not align with you or that hurts you internally, you are not the problem for doing what's right for you. You're not the problem. You're not the problem if you're really standing up for yourself in truth and in honesty and in emotional maturity. No, you are not the problem, my friend. You're just the problem solver. There you go. So, yeah. So let's get into how to handle when you are in different spaces with your friend. They're somewhere else in their life and you're somewhere else in your life. I feel like that is okay. But when it becomes a problem is when where each side is at in their life is spilling over into the other person. So say if you have a friend that likes to smoke a drink all the time, but you're not there in your life, and they kind of make you feel, not like kind of guilty about it, or vice versa. You don't smoke and drink and you're making your friend who does that feel guilty about it because you're not there. You used to be there, but now you're not there anymore. So you're making them feel a certain type of way about it, or I feel like when it becomes a thing of making people feel judged or uncomfortable because where they're at in their life, that becomes when an issue when you are in two different spaces in your life, because this is normal for people to be at different spaces. It's normal for people to mature quicker than other people depending on our life circumstances. That is all normal. And I have other people I was really close to that I'm not as close to anymore, but we didn't have to sever ties or in our relationship, and we catch up when we catch up, because what we have going on is not overflowing and spilling and offending the other person because we're at different places, you know. So I think that really boils down to emotional maturity and how people handle things when it comes to being in different places in your life. You know, that is what's going to make the biggest impact on that, because I do believe that you could be in different places with your friends and y'all could still be cool and good. It just has to be that boundary and that line of respect there. And boundaries to me in this situation is not to make your friends feel judged or guilty for not doing the same things that you want to do or not being in a place that you are at. Respecting where everybody's at. You know what I mean? So that is my take on that. As far as being in different places with your friends, that's totally fine, as long as the respect is there and the understanding is there. Because sometimes we don't know how much our friends chucked it up to make you feel comfortable and do what you wanted to do when they really didn't want to, you know? So we need to learn how to value that a little bit more as well. So the last thing I want to get into is how to grieve friendships that might end it. People, now I do feel like people don't talk about enough how it does hurt when you have to end friendships, especially when y'all end on a bad note, especially when you feel like this person was your rider and y'all had such a great time together and all of that stuff, and it's just like when two egos clash and it's this whole blow up, and how hurtful that could be, especially when you feel like you're not heard or you were over, you know, looked or talked, whatever it is. Losing friendships can really hurt, and they suck, and it makes you cry, and it makes you angry, and it makes you wonder, you know. So friendships are very important, and it hurts when they do end. So in my opinion, things I do to grieve friendships, I talk about it. I'm a talker. I have to express myself. So I talk to someone that is dear to me, and I can feel like I can hold that for me. And I do things like when I have to sever ties with friendships, I don't look at these people's social media, because I'm the type of person, do not be on here talking crazy, because it's going to like tick me off. Don't be saying any shady stuff. Don't be trying to throw shots and all of that stuff. So to me, I'm not looking at what you put in on social media anymore, because I really want to make peace with the situation. You know, I really want to make peace with it. I pray about it. I release it. When I feel my mind is racing and replaying the situations over and over again, I make peace with it and I release that feeling. I release that. I try to, you know, wish that person well as best as I can, depending on the mood that I'm in. I'm very honest. You know, sometimes I be like, I just don't want good for people, because that's how I feel at that moment, because they hurt me in a way. I'm going to be very honest about that. But then I turn around and say, you know what? If they feel like that, how they handled it was best for them, you got to let them have that. And you got to make peace with yourself. You know, you got to make peace with yourself in that situation. So that's just going into how I feel like you can handle and grieve it. If you're a talker, talk about it. If you journal about it. You know, whatever you got to do to release that out of you and make peace with it, do it. But I'm going to tell you right now, when you handle it in a way of clarity and maturity, it doesn't hurt as bad as when it's a big blow up in a clash. I will say that. Well, friend, I hope my message and what I had to say helped you and gave you some clarity, reflection on your friendships. I hope no matter where you are in your friendships, that you're making the best decisions for you, that you're walking into healthy and beautiful connections, especially with women. I feel like women overall, we do have a lot of healing to go with our trust in each other and stuff like that. So embrace those relationships where you can really trust women. You can really be authentic. You can really be who you are in those relationships, and embrace those women and those friendships. You know, people who can genuinely hold space for you. And, you know, if you ever had to walk away from a friendship that you have for a long time, I'm sending you peace. And I'm sending you love and healing with that. And I want you to understand that we are all worthy of those beautiful connections with someone in our life to have like that. I value every relationship I have in my life, whether if it's my friendships, my sister, my mom, my daughters, those womanly, my cousins that I have, I value those relationships dearly to me. And I'm wishing that so much for all of you. I'm giving you the courage to walk away from situations that do not serve you or no longer align with you in your life anymore, and making sure you feel guilt-free from choosing you, genuinely choosing you in a healthy space, not a bitter space, a healthy, peaceful space, always choosing yourself. So that is all I have for you today, friend. Thank you for joining us over here. Well, joining me over here at I Love You to Infinity. And I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.